as a player, you also need to know what type of game you want to be in.
Yeah.
Whereas a DM is saying, this is the type of game I want to run. Let me find players that fit this.
Right.
As a player, you need to know what type of game you want to be in. And I think, like, it goes back to what I was saying, inexperienced players won't exactly know the terminology. So basically the two sides of the spectrum is Sandbox and Railroad. And then everything in between, there's a place for you. And I think that's one thing is maybe some inexperienced players wouldn't understand exactly what those mean. So basically, Railroad, as you and I know, that's where the DM is going to tell you where to go in not so subtle terms.
Yeah.
Like whether they have, an interesting character walks into the bar and walks up to you, hey, I have a job for you. It needs to be done now. Like, that's pretty much Railroad. That's like, hey, here's a quest, go do it. Sandbox is no direction. DM's not going to give you direction. They're going to drop hooks at you. Subtle, sometimes blatant, but they're just going to drop a bunch of hooks. You're in a pond, they're going to throw hooks at you. You do what you want to do. You're in a tavern. They will describe the innkeeper. They'll describe some of the patrons. They'll describe, the environment. They'll describe the band that's playing, the bard that's singing. Some, people are walking in. It's this time of day. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? In a sandbox, I want to talk to this person at this table. I want to talk to the barkeep. I want to look at the board. I want to take part in the band. I want to get drunk. I want to go start a business. You don't have any given direction. There's anywhere you can go.
If you're playing a module, for example, that's probably going to be a little bit more of a railroaded campaign, just because of the necessity of, if you're going to stick to this, structure of plot advancement that's in the book, everybody's got to kind of understand and agree that, when a hook comes up that's clearly pointing toward this main plot line, we're all going to kind of go toward that. And I think that happens in sandbox games after a point as well.
Oh, yeah.
You get to a point where the party has dictated something's interesting to them, and then the DMs, backstopped that a little more and developed a couple more complications or conflicts that are centered around that aspect of the game. It's starting a business or whatever. That can start to become one of those greater arcs. Like, you can have a larger overarching plot that guides the action and still have room for stuff where you can go off and do silly things in the meantime, where maybe every single action isn't time dependent, so you've got some free time or downtime or whatever that lets you work more along those lines. And so obviously these aren't like a binary one or the other thing.
If you're new, generally you would lean towards a railroad side. It gives you more direction. Because as a new player, you're not exactly sure what all of your options are. What can you do?
Right.
What should you do? I mean, do you want to go and talk to somebody? Do you want a quest? Do you want to do nothing? Like, you don't know. You don't know. You're not given a list of things that you can do. As a player, depending on what you want to do, you need a DM that's going to be trying to run that type of game. If you want the direction, there's nothing wrong with that. If you want a story-driven direction, then that's fine. Find a DM that's doing that.
Right.